I'm about to destroy every romantic belief you've held since you were 15 years old, and I guarantee at least 3 of these lies are actively ruining your love life right now. Listen carefully, because what I'm about to tell you goes against everything Hollywood has programmed into your brain about relationships, romance, and what women actually want. These aren't small misunderstandings. These are fundamental lies that keep you waiting, suffering, and wondering why your relationships never work out the way movies promise they would. Last week, a client sat in my office and told me he'd been waiting 3 years for his best friend to suddenly realize she loved him. 3 years. He'd watched her date 5 different men, listened to her cry over every breakup, drove her to the airport when she visited her ex-boyfriend in another state, and genuinely believed that one day she'd wake up and see that he was the one all along. You know what taught him that strategy? Movies, romantic comedies, every film where the nice guy waits patiently in the background and wins the girl in the final scene. That man wasted 3 years of his life on a fantasy, and he's not alone. These 5 lies are costing men years of their lives, real connections with women who actually want them, and their basic self-respect. The first lie? It's the one keeping you in the friend zone right now. Lie number 1, if you wait long enough, she'll choose you. You've seen this story 100 times. The sweet, patient, nice guy who's always there for her. He listens to her problems, brings her coffee, remembers her birthday, supports her through every bad relationship. Meanwhile, she dates the confident guys, the emotionally unavailable ones, the ones who don't treat her as well as he does. But the movie promises that eventually, after enough disappointment, she'll have that moment of clarity. She'll realize the right man was beside her the entire time. Here's what every romantic comedy forgot to mention: that never happens in real life. Men believe this lie because it gives them permission to avoid rejection while feeling noble. The friend zone becomes comfortable. You get to be close to her without risking the vulnerability of actually making a move. You get to tell yourself you're building credit, that all this emotional labor will eventually pay off, that patience is a virtue, and nice guys finish first if they just wait long enough. It's fear of rejection disguised as romantic devotion. But here's the brutal truth that no one wants to say out loud. Women know within the first few conversations, sometimes the first few minutes, whether romantic potential exists with you. That initial chemistry either sparks or it doesn't, and if it doesn't spark immediately, waiting around won't create it. The friend zone isn't a waiting room where you sit until she's ready. It's a final destination, a category you've been permanently filed into. When she sees you as a friend, she's getting emotional intimacy without attraction. You're getting proximity without possibility. And the longer you stay there, the more impossible it becomes to shift that dynamic, because now she's comfortable with you in that role. You've become her emotional support system, her free therapist, her reliable comfort, without any of the tension that creates romantic desire. If attraction exists, it shows up early. If she's interested, she creates opportunities for you to escalate. She touches your arm when she laughs. She finds excuses to be alone with you. She asks about your dating life, not to hear about other women, but to gauge your availability. Women who want you make it obvious. Women who want you as a friend make that obvious too, if you're willing to see it. Waiting doesn't build desire. Presence, absence, and intimate tension build desire. But that's not what movies taught you, but that's just the first lie. The next one is actually more dangerous because it convinces you that emotional suffering equals deep love, and that you should be performing romance instead of living it. Lie number 2, love means grand gestures and constant intensity. Every romantic movie climaxes with the grand gesture. The boombox outside her window, the sprint through the airport, the public declaration of love in front of hundreds of people, the elaborate surprise that takes weeks of planning. Movies taught you that romance requires constant peaks of emotional intensity, that love means manufacturing these massive moments, and that quiet, steady affection is boring or somehow insufficient. Men believe this lie because media has glorified drama. We've learned to confuse intensity with intimacy, to think that if the relationship isn't constantly elevated, constantly dramatic, constantly reaching new emotional heights, then something must be wrong. Calm feels like stagnation. Quiet feels like the spark is dying. So we create artificial intensity to prove we care. Here's what actually happens. Real intimacy is built in ordinary moments, not manufactured crises. Sustainable love exists in Tuesday evenings and Sunday mornings, in the small attentions and daily choices. Constant intensity isn't passion, it's instability. And women who want real relationships can feel the difference between genuine connection and performed romance. But grand gestures make better movie scenes than someone remembering to buy the specific type of bread she likes. I've seen 3 engagement proposals in the last year that went viral online. Professional flash mobs, choreographed dances, surprise celebrity cameos. All 3 couples broke up before the wedding. In one case, she admitted to me that she'd wanted to say no, but with 200 people watching and filming, with his face so hopeful and vulnerable in front of everyone, she felt trapped into saying yes. One of those proposals cost over $3,000 and took 3 months to plan. A flash mob in Times Square. Professional dancers. Her favorite song. The video got 2 million views online. The marriage lasted 11 months. She later told me that she'd hinted multiple times that she wanted him to propose during their quiet weekend at the cabin, just the 2 of them. Maybe during the hike, where they'd first said, "I love you." But he wanted something Instagram-worthy. He wanted the moment to look impressive to strangers instead of feeling meaningful to her. What actually works? Attention to small details, consistent reliability, understanding her actual preferences rather than projecting movie fantasies onto her, building safety through predictability, showing her through daily actions, not occasional spectacles, that you see her, hear her, and care about her specific needs and desires. But here's where it gets worse. The third lie doesn't just waste your time, it makes you tolerate behavior that destroys your self-respect while convincing you that suffering for her means you love her more. Lie number 3, if you love her enough, she'll change. This is the most dangerous lie because it appeals to your ego. Movies love this storyline. The broken woman, the damaged soul, the project partner who just needs the right man to heal her. She's been hurt before, she has issues, she's made mistakes. But you're different. Your love will be the thing that finally transforms her. You're going to be the one who succeeds where everyone else failed. Men believe this lie because we're wired to fix problems, and the savior complex feels meaningful. Being the one who changes her feels like proof of your value, your importance, your special connection. It's ego wrapped in the language of devotion. You want to believe you're so exceptional that your presence alone will inspire her to become the woman you need her to be. But here's the truth that will save you years of suffering. People change when they decide to, not when you need them to. You're not dating her potential. You're not in a relationship with the version of her that might exist someday if everything goes perfectly. You're dating the person in front of you right now, today, with all her current patterns, behaviors, and choices. And that person will only change if she wants to change for herself, not because you're being patient or loving or understanding enough. Let me tell you about a case that haunts me because of how completely preventable the damage was. She'd cheated in 3 previous relationships. He knew this before they got serious. She'd told him on their first date that she wasn't ready for anything serious. She'd been direct about her patterns, her struggles with monogamy, her tendency to run when things got intimate. He heard all of that and thought, not with me, I'll be different. I'll love her so well she won't need anyone else. 2 years later, after she'd cheated on him twice, maxed out a credit card he'd co-signed for because she promised she'd changed her spending habits, and moved out while he was at his mother's funeral to go stay with one of the men she'd been cheating with, he sat in my office asking, what could I have done differently to make her see how much I loved her? The answer was nothing, because she already knew. She'd known from the beginning that he loved her. She just didn't care enough to change, because changing is hard and uncomfortable, and he kept staying no matter what she did. His unconditional acceptance of her behavior wasn't love, it was enabling. She didn't need to change because he'd built a relationship where there were no real consequences for not changing. During those 2 years, he'd been to every therapy session with her, researched relationship books, paid for a couples retreat, rearranged his entire life around her emotional needs. She'd appreciated it the way you appreciate a comfortable chair. It was nice to have, but it wasn't going to inspire transformation. You can't love someone into changing. You can only love someone through the changes they choose for themselves. And if someone doesn't want to change, your love becomes the very thing that allows them to stay exactly as they are, because you've proven there are no real boundaries they need to respect. I had another client who dated a woman with a serious drinking problem for 5 years. Not casual drinking, blacking out, losing jobs, getting arrested level drinking. He went to every AA meeting with her, poured out bottles, researched rehab centers, paid for 3 rounds of treatment out of his own pocket. He restructured his entire life around managing her sobriety. She eventually got sober. Then she left him for someone she met in her recovery group. She told me later, in a separate session, that she'd needed to leave him to actually stay sober, because he'd become part of the addiction pattern. He was the person who enabled her drinking by always rescuing her, and staying with him meant staying connected to that version of herself. Her therapist had helped her see that clearly. What actually works? Accept people as they are right now. Set boundaries based on current behavior, not future promises. Understand that staying with someone hoping they'll change is choosing suffering. If someone's behavior is unacceptable to you now, and they're not actively changing it, you need to leave. Not to punish them, but to respect yourself. Now we're getting to the lie that actually breaks men psychologically. The 4th one destroys your ability to see manipulation clearly, because it's disguised as proof that she cares. Lie number 4. Jealousy and drama mean she cares deeply. Movies have romanticized jealousy to a dangerous degree. The passionate fights, the jealous scenes, the possessive behavior, all presented as proof of deep love. If she's crazy, she must really care, right? We've been taught that if she's checking your phone, questioning your female friends, showing up unannounced, getting emotional about your attention going anywhere but to her, it means you matter to her so much that she can't control herself. Men believe this because we confuse intensity with investment. We mistake emotional volatility for passion. Society has fed us narratives that crazy girlfriend stories are somehow proof of commitment, that possessiveness means she values you, that if she's not a little jealous, she must not really care. Here's the brutal truth. Jealousy is about insecurity, not love. Drama is a control mechanism, not intimacy. Healthy love creates security. Toxic attachment creates surveillance. The mechanism is this. Real love says, I trust you. Toxic attachment says, prove to me constantly that I can trust you. One creates freedom. The other creates a prison where you're always defending yourself, always proving your innocence, always walking on eggshells to avoid triggering her insecurity. When he finally tried to leave, she threatened to harm herself. She sent him photos of pills, threatened to drive into oncoming traffic, told him his leaving would kill her. Movies had taught him that was desperate love, that he needed to stay and save her. Psychology calls it emotional hostage-taking. It's manipulation, and it works because good men have been trained to feel responsible for women's emotional states. Here's the gossip detail that most people don't talk about. I've seen this pattern 17 times in the last 2 years. Women using jealousy and emotional crises to control men who mistake control for caring. And every single one of those men justified it the same way. She just loves me so much she's scared of losing me. What actually works in healthy relationships? Trust, breathing room, mutual respect without surveillance, emotional stability rather than constant testing. A woman who's secure in herself and in your relationship doesn't need to monitor your every interaction. She trusts you until you give her a reason not to, and even then, she leaves rather than turning into your warden. And now the final lie, the one that's probably keeping you stuck in an almost relationship right now, waiting for perfect timing that will never come. Lie number 5, if it's meant to be, timing doesn't matter. This is the lie that keeps men in limbo for years. Movies love this narrative. Soulmates who find their way back to each other after decades apart. Right person, wrong time romances, where they reunite and pick up exactly where they left off. Destiny that transcends practical obstacles, like distance or life circumstances. Men believe this lie because it feeds hope. It lets you avoid the pain of fully letting go. It romanticizes suffering. If you're waiting, if you're hurting, if you're staying loyal despite separation, that must mean it's real love. It convinces you that there's only one person for you, and if you give up on her, you'll regret it forever. Here's what movies don't show you. Timing isn't separate from compatibility, it's part of compatibility. Right person, wrong time is almost always just the wrong person with a convenient excuse. Because when someone is actually right for you, they make it work with the time they have. They don't ask you to wait while they figure out their life. They include you in their life. Let me tell you about the most brutal case I've witnessed. They dated for 6 months before she moved across the country for grad school. They agreed to wait, to stay committed, to revisit the relationship when she finished her program in 3 years. He turned down dates during that time, stayed faithful, visited her twice, despite the expensive flights, and the fact that she always seemed too busy to spend much time with him when he was there. Meanwhile, according to her Instagram stories that he watched religiously, she seemed to be attending a lot of parties, a lot of study group sessions with the same male classmate who kept appearing in her photos, a lot of girls' nights where there were clearly guys present in the background, but every time he asked about her life, she kept things vague, said she was focusing on school, reminded him they'd agreed to wait. 3 years later, when she finally moved back, she suggested they take things slow because she'd changed so much and needed to figure out what she wanted. Translation, she'd moved on 27 months earlier, but liked having him as a backup option. She'd liked knowing someone was waiting, staying loyal, keeping the door open. It made her feel valued, even while she was exploring other options. He'd put his entire dating life on hold for a relationship that existed only in his mind. She'd been living her full life the entire time, just keeping him at a distance so he couldn't see clearly what she was actually doing. The psychology is simple. If someone wants you, they make it work with the time they have now. They don't ask you to pause your life while they explore theirs. They create presence, not promises of eventual presence. Long distance is hard, life transitions are challenging, but people who truly value you find ways to stay connected. They video call regularly. They make visits happen. They include you in their decisions. They don't ask you to wait in uncertainty while they keep their options open. What actually works? If someone truly values you, they create presence in their life now. They make you a priority with the time and circumstances they currently have. They don't ask you to wait for someday. Relationships require active participation, not passive hoping. You deserve someone who chooses you in the present, not someone who asks you to wait for a future that keeps getting postponed.